Arsenal fans, stop what you're doing because there has been a major development in the summer transfer window. Fabrizio Romano has delivered those famous words every football fan waits for. Here we go! Ezri Konsa is heading to Arsenal. The Gunners have reportedly reached an agreement with Aston Villa for the England international in a deal worth around £50 million plus add-ons, and this is not just another transfer. This is a statement. Mikel Arteta has been searching for defensive reinforcement, and with William Saliba and Jurrien Timber dealing with injuries, Arsenal needed a player who could step into the team immediately. Now they have their man. But there is much more to this story than the headline. Because Romano has also revealed that Konsa was not simply a last-minute panic purchase. He was reportedly Arsenal's top defensive target throughout the summer. So why Konsa? Why spend more than £50 million on a defender who already plays for a Premier League rival? And what does his arrival mean for Arsenal's defence, Saliba, Gabriel and Timber? Let's break it all. The transfer story exploded when Fabrizio Romano confirmed that Arsenal and Aston Villa had reached an agreement for Ezri Konsa. Romano reported that the fee is £50 million plus add-ons, with a long-term contract understood to be in place for the English defender. The next step is the medical before the deal can be formally completed. For Arsenal supporters, the phrase "here we go" is enough to create excitement. But this particular signing makes sense from a football perspective. Arsenal are entering a season where expectations are enormous. They are not building for 5 years from now. They want to compete now. And when you are trying to win major trophies, defensive depth becomes absolutely crucial. One injury can change everything. Arsenal have already seen that problem. William Saliba has been dealing with a back issue, while Jurrien Timber has had a groin problem. That leaves Arteta needing another defender who can be trusted immediately. Enter Ezri Konsa. Konsa is not coming to Arsenal simply to sit on the bench. His biggest attraction is versatility. He can play at centre-back and right-back, giving Arteta tactical flexibility. Imagine Arsenal playing a Champions League match. Saliba is unavailable. Timber is unavailable. Instead of changing the entire system, Arteta can bring in Konsa and maintain a high level of defensive stability. That is extremely valuable. Konsa has also spent years playing in the Premier League, so there should be very little adaptation required. He understands the pace, he understands the physical demands, and he knows how dangerous Premier League attackers can be. That experience could become one of his biggest assets at Arsenal. Now comes the fascinating question: where does Konsa actually fit? Arsenal's preferred centre-back partnership has been built around William Saliba and Gabriel. Saliba offers pace, recovery ability and composure. Gabriel brings aggression, physical strength and aerial presence. Konsa brings something slightly different. He is a defender who can offer composure, positioning and versatility, while also being comfortable operating in a Premier League defensive system. And this is important. Arsenal do not necessarily need Konsa because he is better than Saliba or Gabriel. They need him because football is not played with 11 players. It is played across an entire season. There will be injuries, suspensions, rotation, 3-game weeks, Champions League nights, cup competitions, and that is where squad depth can decide whether a team finishes with a trophy or finishes wondering what might have been. Of course, some Arsenal fans will ask one question: is £50 million plus too much? That debate is going to continue. There is always pressure when an English player moves between Premier League clubs for a major fee. But Arsenal are operating in a market where quality defenders command huge prices. If Konsa performs at the expected level and helps Arsenal compete for trophies, the fee could quickly become irrelevant. Football transfers are ultimately judged by what happens on the pitch. If Arsenal win trophies with Konsa playing an important role, nobody will care whether the final fee was £50 million, £55 million or more. But if he struggles, the price tag will become a talking point every single weekend. That is the pressure that comes with a big transfer. And here is where the story gets even more interesting. Romano has indicated that Konsa was Arsenal's top target all summer. But Arsenal apparently explored another defender before focusing on Konsa. That tells us something about Arteta and Arsenal's recruitment strategy. They were not simply looking for any available defender. They were assessing different profiles, different options, different solutions, and eventually Konsa emerged as the player they wanted. That suggests Arsenal believe he fits their football, not just their injury crisis, their long-term plans, and that distinction is important. Now imagine the Arsenal defence at full strength. Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Konsa. Suddenly, Arteta has options, and options create competition. If Saliba returns from injury, Konsa does not automatically become irrelevant. He could play centre-back, he could cover at right-back, he could start during rotation, he could come into matches when Arsenal need greater defensive security, and during a long season, that could be priceless. Arsenal supporters have seen how injuries can disrupt a title challenge. This time, Arteta appears determined not to allow the same problem to destroy his plans. But don't think the Konsa deal means Arsenal are finished. Far from it. There are still questions around the attack. Arsenal are reportedly interested in adding another high-profile left winger, while a more potent striker has also been discussed. That means Konsa could be one piece of a much bigger puzzle. The Gunners have already been active in the window, and this latest deal shows that Arteta and the recruitment team are continuing to strengthen the squad. The message is clear. Arsenal want competition for every position. They want quality on the bench, and they want players capable of stepping into the starting 11 without the team collapsing when injuries arrive. That is how title-winning squads are built. So what should Arsenal fans expect from Ezri Konsa? Don't expect him to arrive and suddenly become the superstar of the team. Instead, expect something potentially more important: reliability. A defender who understands the Premier League, a defender capable of playing multiple positions, a defender who can help Arsenal survive difficult periods, and perhaps most importantly, a defender who gives Arteta another trusted option. The £50 million plus fee will create pressure, but pressure is part of playing for Arsenal. At a club chasing Premier League and Champions League glory, every signing is judged against one question: can this player help us win? Konsa now has the opportunity to answer that question on the pitch. So Arsenal fans, the message from this transfer is bigger than Ezri Konsa. It is about ambition. Arsenal are not waiting for problems to happen before reacting. They are trying to build a squad capable of surviving them. Saliba injured. There is Konsa. Timber unavailable. There is Konsa. Need a different defensive profile. There is Konsa. Need Premier League experience. Again, Konsa. And that is why this transfer could become more important than it initially appears. The famous words have been delivered. Here we go. Ezri Konsa is on his way to Arsenal, subject to the final formalities. Now the question changes. It is no longer, will Arsenal sign Konsa? The question is, what can Konsa help Arsenal achieve? Can he become the defensive piece that helps Arsenal finally get over the line? Can he compete with Saliba, Gabriel and Timber for a starting place? And could this signing be the beginning of another major Arsenal move before the transfer window closes? One thing is certain, Arsenal are building, and if Arteta gets the rest of his transfer plans right, the Premier League should be watching very carefully, because this Arsenal team is not finished yet. Stay tuned for the next